Hi, 4th grade. Welcome to Math Today. You're going to need your book and pencil before we get started. So if you don't have those things and you want to run and go get them, just push pause for a second. Okay, if everybody's ready to go, today we're going to start on page 697. We're going to continue talking about metric units today. We're going to be concentrating on length. I know yesterday you learned about the metric system and some of the units we use to measure length, capacity, and mass. I think when we get into converting, you're going to find that it's a lot easier to convert within the metric system. You don't have a lot of random numbers that you have to remember, like there are 16 ounces in a pound, there are 12 inches in a foot, there are 4 quarts in a gallon, all these different numbers. What's nice about the metric system is it goes by tens. Everything is a multiple of 10. So we climb up and down according to multiplying by 10, dividing by 10, or multiplying by 100. Really easy numbers to work with. Okay, we're going to start today on page 697 with our solve and share. If you'd like to read along with me, go on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Find the length of the marker shown in both centimeters and millimeters. Describe the relationship between the two units. Well, if you look at the marker, it's nicely lined up next to our ruler, and centimeters are the big numbers that are marked. A centimeter isn't a very large unit, it's actually pretty small. It is about the width of your pinky. So if we look at the marker and we go up to the top of it, we can see that it's about 12 centimeters tall. So we're going to write down 12 centimeters. Now the solve and share asks us to also give the amount of millimeters that it is. And it's really easy to change between centimeters and millimeters because there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter. If you look at one of these centimeters and if you counted those small lines, you would find that there are 10 of those little lines for every single centimeter. So what we could do is we could count by tens until we reach the top of the marker. Let's try that. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. There are 120 millimeters in the length of this marker. Now we don't want to go around constantly counting by tens. That might take a while sometimes when we're converting. So there is an easier way to do it. What would be easier would be just simply taking the number of centimeters, which in this case is 12. And since we know that there are 10 millimeters in each of those centimeters, we can just take that number of centimeters, 12 times 10. That's a simple mental math problem. 12 times 10 is 120 millimeters. So what is the relationship between the two units? How are centimeters and millimeters related? Well, like we just said, if you have 1 centimeter, that's going to be equal to 10 millimeters. Simply take the number of centimeters times 10, and that's how you can convert between centimeters and millimeters real quickly. Okay, let's turn to page 698. Okay, we know on the back side of this page, there's always some really helpful information. Look for those tables that give us some important facts. Okay, for 1 centimeter, like we just said on the page before, that equals 10 millimeters. A meter, if you stretch out your right arm straight to the side, from your left shoulder to your right hand with your fingers open, so the tips of your fingers, that's about the length of a meter. So it's very similar to our yards that we use in the customary unit. Well, in each of those meters, there are 100 centimeters. And 100 centimeters is also equal to 1,000 of those tiny little millimeters. So all 3 of these make your meter stick. 1 meter, 100 centimeters, 1,000 millimeters. Now, kilometers are similar to miles. They're used to measure large distances, like between two cities. it would take 1,000 of those meter sticks to equal 1 kilometer. Okay, so keep this chart handy today when we're doing these conversions. But again, real simple math today. Okay, here it says, if for the standing long jump, Corey jumped 2 meters and Gary jumped 175 centimeters, who jumped the furthest? Well, if we want to compare the two of them, we should put them both into the same unit. So the easiest thing to do would be to change Corey's 2 meters into centimeters. According to our chart up here, 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. So if I have 2 meters, each of those would be 100. So we simply take 2 times 100, and that would be 200 centimeters. And then we can compare it to the 175 that Gary jumped, and we can see that Corey jumped further. Okay, so keep your eyes on that chart because you're going to need it. Now, if at any time you want to hear me repeat, of course, you can start back a little bit and listen to how we do these conversions again, or if you need to pause it and catch up, it's nice. You can do that in class. You can't pause Mrs. Rustler, but here on the video you can. So if you need a minute to kind of think about it or get caught up, feel free to do so. Okay, so let's look at this page over here. Again, keep that chart where you can see it. Let's look at number 2. We have 5 kilometers. Go to your chart and look at what the information is. 1 kilometer is the same as 1,000 meters. So if I have 5 kilometers, how many meters would I have? When I'm going from kilometers to meters, I'm just going to multiply the number of kilometers times 1,000. 5 times 1,000 equals 5,000. Okay, what about I have 75 centimeters? Now we learned that every time you have 1 centimeter, that equals 10 millimeters. So when you're going between centimeters to millimeters, you simply multiply it by 10. So I'm going to take my 75 times 10. Of course, our rule when multiplying by 10 is just to take the number you started with, which was 75, and you add a 0 to it. 750. So in 75 centimeters, that would be equal to 750 millimeters. Okay, let's try some of these evens down here. 2 meters. Go to your chart. A meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So if I have 2 meters, I would take the number of meters times 100, because there are 100 centimeters in one of those. 2 times 100, real easy to do. Take your front numbers and multiply them. 2 times 1 is 2, and add the 2 zeros. Okay, 8 centimeters into millimeters. Again, the fact that we use for that would be 8 times 10, because every time I get a centimeter, that's worth 10 millimeters. 8 times 10 is 80 millimeters. Okay, 9 kilometers into meters. Again, 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. 9 times 1,000 equals 9,000. Okay, I hope you're finding metric system really easy to use. Again, easy math to do. Okay, let's look at this table. We should start to see, after we've worked a couple of them, a pattern emerge. Okay, 1 meter equals how many millimeters? Go to your chart. 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters. Okay, 2 meters. If I have 2 meters, I have 1,000, 2,000 millimeters. If I have 3 meters, every one of those meters is 1,000 millimeters. So 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. By now, you should see the pattern and be ready to go. 4 times 1,000 is 4,000. 5 times 1,000, 5,000. Okay, what I want you to do now is I want you to try on your own the column over here. I want you to do 5, 7, 9, and 11. When you're finished, come back and we'll check it. So, put me on pause and go work 5, 7, 9, and 11. See you in a minute. Okay, hopefully you worked all of these and you're going to get a lot of right answers. Okay, 5 kilometers. How many meters is that? Well, since there are 1,000 meters in each kilometer, we're going to take 5 times 1,000, and that's going to be 5,000 meters. Okay, a meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters. So if I have 6 meters, I'm going to take that times 1,000. That's going to give me 6,000 millimeters. Okay, changing meters to centimeters. Our chart says 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. So 6, I'm going to take that times 100, and that's going to give me 600 centimeters. Okay, now the table you were supposed to try on your own is our centimeters and millimeters again. Just like we learned on the solvent chair, there are 10 millimeters in every centimeter. So I'm simply going to take each of these numbers and I'm going to multiply it by 10 is the rule of this particular table. So 1 times 10 is going to give me 10. 2 times 10 is going to give me 20. 3 times 10, and we get 30, and so on. So you can just start counting by tens. 40 and 50. Hopefully you have found so far that today's lesson is really a piece of cake. It's not hard at all. We're going to try just a couple more problems on the back. So turn in your book to page 700. Let's look at number 12. We're going to be using this table for 12 and 13. Okay, the table shows the amount of rainfall students measured for a week. What was the total rainfall for the week in millimeters? It's important in math to read carefully. It wants us to give our answer in millimeters. However, the students measured in centimeters. There's a couple ways you could go about solving this. You could first change all of these centimeters into millimeters and then convert that answer. Convert them all into millimeters and then add that up. Or what I would do, which I think would be just a little bit easier, is add all of these centimeters up. So we'd have 3 plus 0 is 3, plus 1 is 4, plus 5 is 9, plus 2 is 11. So it's 11 centimeters. Of course, I remember that it asked for my answer to be in millimeters. So I'm going to take the number of centimeters I have. Ask yourself, how many millimeters are in a centimeter? Of course, there are 10, so we're going to multiply that by 10. And the rainfall for the week that they measure would be 110 millimeters. Now, number 13, let's look at that question. How many more millimeters of rain fell on Thursday than on Monday and Wednesday combined? Okay, and again, it wants millimeters. So the first amount we need is Thursday. Thursday is 5 centimeters. So if I want to change that to millimeters, what do I multiply by? Okay, we're going to multiply it by 10. 5 times 10, Thursday's rainfall would be 50 millimeters. Now we want to know how much more that is than both Monday and Wednesday combined, because there was no rain on Tuesday. So combine Monday and Wednesday. Monday and Wednesday is 3 plus 1, which was 4 centimeters. Okay, we're going to change that to millimeters, so we're going to take 4 times 10. So there were 40 millimeters on those 2 days. So what's the difference? The difference in millimeters between the two would be 10 millimeters. Okay, number 14. Which of these two amounts is greater? 2,670 meters or 2 kilometers? Now, we don't want to try to compare meters to kilometers. It's always best to compare numbers that are measured in the same unit. So the easiest thing to do would be to change those kilometers into meters. Now, we know if we flip back to our table, that 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. So let's apply that over here. If I have 2 kilometers, then that would be 2 times 1,000 equal to 2,000 meters. So which is greater? 2,670 meters. Hope you're starting to get the hang of how we convert in the metric system, and I hope you found it to be a pretty easy process. Okay, what you need to do now is go to the Pearson Realize website, and you'll find that we've assigned you 1 or 2 videos to watch to review today's lesson, and then go to the Practice Buddy. Try a few more problems on your own to make sure you have the hang of it before starting today's assignment. Okay, 4th grade, I hope you have a great rest of the day.